Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I did not record an intro or an outro of this video, so you get a scuffed intro featuring Gigi over there. Okay, maybe we're not gonna look at him right now. Yeah. So a little bit of a different video on the channel today. Uh, I sat down and hopped on a call with a couple of my friends who are at Indianapolis Regionals. Because as I was following their run on Saturday, I was like, wow, y'all are performing really well. I want to get like you guys. I want to pick y'all's brains after this weekend. Um, and yeah, they were super gracious in, you know, taking the time, last night to, sit down and talk through the indie experience, talk through the experience of being at a regional, talk through their preparation, talk through we did a we did our little yapping and rambling about the state of the meta. And yeah, it was a really cool conversation. Super happy they were willing to let me record it, and super happy that they were willing to let me share it with you all. So, without further ado, here it is.
Ivan, Akbar, y'all balled out at Indy. Um, I have the Cut Explorer up here. I don't know if you. I might even just share screen with y'all. But I have the Cut Explorer here, and y'all are both on it. Absolutely hype. Um, you guys both finished top 256 at Indy, um, which is fantastic. Um, and y'all did it with two we all so co- context because I feel like this is also kind of like fun to share. Um, Ivan, we met on Showdown, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we met on Showdown. And Ivan was like, "Yo, I'm in a Discord server," and that's how I ended up in the Pokemon South server.
Oh, that's
Uh,
crazy. I didn't know. I assumed it was one of those regionals I didn't go to.
no,
No.
no, 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 no. We met on Showdown. So that's fun. But yeah, we're all in the Pokemon's Health server, and for Reg G, we hopped on call a few times and like traded notes about different restricteds and different support mons and all that good stuff. Um, and Ivan, I know you and Roy ended up running pretty similar teams. Um,
Yes.
you guys ended up settling on Calyrex Shadow. Um, Akbar, you went a different direction. You ended up running Calyrex. Uh, sorry, Ivan, you and Roy ran Calyrex Ice. Akbar, you ran Calyrex Shadow.
Yep.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I guess uh, the first kind of question I had, um, as someone who is just picking restricted based purely on vibes, is how did y'all end up settling on uh the restricteds and the archetypes you guys wanted to run at Indy? Was it more of a vibes thing? Was it more of a this feels good in testing thing? um how did y'all settle on each of I guess you're restricted and then the team around it?
So I can go first on this. So I had to take a break for like medical reasons for a while. So like I started first VGC this past August of 23, and I played my first regionals in Peoria in October. Played a PC. I top cutted it, which was nice, and then I was like, oh, I'm feeling pretty good, but had to go on leave for a while. Kind of came back around Marchish area to April. I really kind of started back in April, and then I was like, okay, I definitely want to do NAIC and I want to do Indy because it's like 2.5 hours from Chicago, so it'd be cool to come back. And I was like, I've never played a restricted before, so in my mind, I was like, I should try to pilot the restricted that's the most simple to understand immediately. And obviously, a lot of Pokemon like you have to get really understanding. You have to know the weaknesses, the strengths, the this, the that. But I was like, if I only have 2 days, which I didn't, I actually put a decent amount of time this time, but if I only have 2 days to like look at something, what is a Pokemon I can feel comfortable? And I looked at the Shadow Horse and I was like, Calyrex Shadow, and I was like, oh wow, it's super glass cannon. Like it's very fast, it hits very hard, and it will die to like anything. And I was like, you know what? I understand it completely now because I've played other games that works like this. Maybe not Pokemon that's like a glass cannon, but I've had other you know, kind of things where it's like I played other games and video games where I'm like, okay, like this guy will hit hard and you have to protect him, or do you have to let him die but let him kill more things first? And it's like, I know exactly how this works. And then I kind of built my team from there. I was like, if he's going to be hitting hard and hitting fast, he has to hit the fastest. So then I was like, Tailwind is an immediate necessary thing for Calic Shadow. And then I decided Tornadus because he has Prankster, which means he can go first. And wait, do you want me to kind of talk about the whole team building thing straight up, or do you want me to just only talk about?
No. Feel free.
For sure. And then Ivan, you can talk like your whole team after that way too. Sound good?
Oh yeah, I got a whole story with mine.
Sounds good,
Yeah,
man. I'll yap first,
Ivan's the only one who came with notes. I'm kind of scared at how prepped he is for this one.
For sure. All right. So with being said, right? So Calic Shadow is a glass cannon. It's gonna hit hard. It's gonna hit fast. So what that means is you have to hit first, no matter what. So how do you do that? You get a tailwind, right? So tailwind, and for anyone who's watching this that maybe doesn't know, tailwind increases speed by 2 times for 4 turns. And the ability Prankster means any move that's not an attacking move, you get to go first. So I chose Tornadus for that, and the other reason I chose Tornadus is that he knows Rain Dance, and being able to set up rain in a very weather heavy restricted of like Groudon and Koraidon, being able to turn it off and being able to cancel like a lot of the prehistoric Pokemon's boosts was super helpful. So that's how I kind of built those two. Incineroar is the goat. I've learned about this from a lot of my friends, even though it's my first time playing with him, like first kind of tournament. He helped out so much. Then, so those were kind of the three. Then I was like, you know what? Calic Shadow is a very special attack sweeper. If I'm going hyper offense, I should have a physical attack sweeper. So I decided on Urshifu Rapid Water Strike. Because not only is he strong, he breaks to protect. And I was like, you know what? That's perfect. I know Urshifu Choice Scarf is the smart move to do, and a lot of people, every person I ran in the tournament that had Urshifu, which was all of them basically, they all had Scarf Urshifu. I had Mystic Water because I like to be able to use Protect and then close combat. So, or maybe Aqua Jet. I use Surging Strikes, and then someone comes up faster than me, use Aqua Jet before he's going to die. So I believe that being able to potentially be a little slower, but go full 252 speed, 252 attack, but with Mystic Water was a better idea than balancing out the stats and then giving a choice scarf was my personal decision. So basically, I have Calic Shadow, Glass Cannon, Tornadus, make sure he goes first, and Weather Control. I have Incineroar because he's just a catch-all, help whatever you need. I had Urshifu because in case they have very special wall defense, to have something that physical attack they can break through. I brought Rillaboom for Miraidon and Psychic Terrains. Being able to switch in helped me a lot. So as you can see, I faced 4 Miraidon teams. I won against 3 of them, and I lost against 1. The one I lost to was just that dude was better than me, played much better than me. It was still good. Like we went to multiple rounds, but he did a pretty good job. But the other 3 teams I won against because I was able to neutralize the electric current by bringing in Rillaboom when I needed to, and also because Calic Shadow had the Focus Slash. So I would hit first, and they would hit me. I have a little health left. Tailwind would go up, and then I'd hit again. I'd kill them Miraidon. Even if they were bulky Miraidon or this Miraidon, the Focus Slash saved a lot. And then, so I liked all these 5. Like, this 5 component was pretty solid with me. At 6th spot, I was changing Pokemon, and obviously, Ivan knows, like, I was posting in the chat, like, every day for, like, 8 days, I kept switching out the 6 Pokemon, because I'm like, I'm pretty set with these 5. That 6th one needs to be something that can counter someone else's restricted in a very case-heavy use, because that's probably going to be the one I don't use much, but I'm only going to use in situations. I decided to do Trick Room Fluttermane, and that actually won me some matches. Being able to, because it's fast, I would do Trick Room first. If I could guess and read that they do Trick Room, I do Trick Room, and their eyes would widen, and they would do Trick Room, which means Trick Room just cancels, and we're back to square one, but some of their Pokemon got damaged. Because with Trick Room theory is that you're just trying to make you send out 2 Pokemon, as long as one of them get Trick Room off, the other 2 that are in the back of your 4 will then sweep the game. So basically stopping that turn 1 and killing one of them immediately puts them on the back foot. So Trick Room Fluttermane was pretty key to my success on a lot of it. I did go 5-4, so it's not like I day 2'd or top cut or anything, but I got CP points. I'm used to going 2 and 7 at these tournaments, not just regionals, but like PCs, all that stuff. 2-7, 3-6. So going 5-4 by kind of getting better and kind of learning my team strategies and out really came through.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, listen, I feel like VGC is, especially nowadays with like the strength of like the player pool, it's a game where like you have to lose to learn how to win in a way. Like Reg F, I lost 15 sets in a row at locals. It was bad. It was rough, but like at the end of the day, right? Like the lessons you kind of learned from it. I like the principle of basically let me find the simplest restricted and just play off that. Or like the simplest for me to grasp, because yeah, that's like a, especially with a new format, I feel like that's just a really solid way to just immediately get a team that you're comfortable with, because I feel like comfort with a team is almost more important than how good the team is, right? If you know your lines, you know your matchups, and I mean like the theory behind the team, right? It's all like pretty solid, like standard hyper offense stuff, but I mean it's standard because it works. So really like how you came to that.
Yeah,
It,
so like it definitely helped by having them out. So I played Regulation D and Regulation E. So I played Regulation D Pokemon in the Park. It was just a Chicago local. Got my ass kicked. So it was my first ever competitive tournament, and I brought a full rain team. So I was like, I played regular Pokemon. I understand a little bit of concepts. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have Propeller set up Rain. So I should have a Swift Swim user and a person who uses Thunder, and the rest can be Water that will help boost it. And then I think you can understand kind of how it went, right? And afterwards, everyone was so nice. And this is where I met Leroy. He just was like, hey, like, him and a couple others, like, you don't have to make everything rain based just because you're doing a rain team. You should maybe have Scizor because the rain will weaken fire, and then the steel type Pokemon can be better now, and things like that. And then, a lot of this growth has been obviously the chat, but a lot of the Chicago community I'm part of.
yeah, no, that's huge. Like my first like couple locals, like when I didn't really like know anyone in like the Boston community, it was very much like me kind of feeling it out on my own, and like I like had an idea of what I was doing, but like it definitely is a lot easier once you have the people that you're seeing the most often, right, helping you learn and grow and making those connections. And I mean, at the end of the day, right, like with any hobby, like if you make friends through that hobby, it's even sweeter. So
Ivan, you can take the call now.
Oh, okay. So going into this, I thought it was still going to be Reg F. I didn't know Reg G was happening, so I spent a ton of time building like Reg F teams. I finally landed on like a Howl, Banded Rilla team. Went to a local, and then they're like, yeah, this is all just for fun. It's gonna be a new reg for Indy. And my heart was crushed because I spent all that time and I had 2 weeks to find a team. So I actually have 60 Reg G teams that I made in about a week. Um, couldn't find any of them that I really liked. I was sticking with like Groudon for a bit, and I was liking the Sun aspect, but I was still losing a lot of matchups. And then eventually I was like, I'm tired of losing to Cali Shadows. I'm gonna go into a Cali Ice team because I heard that's got a good matchup into it. And I messed around with it a little bit. And then eventually I kept losing to it because I was just like the standard Trick Room Amoonguss, and I'm not the strongest Trick Room player. I really don't like running Trick Room, to be honest. I like stopping it or having mons that just do well into it, so I don't have to set it up. Um, and I was losing a lot to Kyogre too, so I'm like, what if I just run like Snowscape, like A9, Calyrex Ice, and just set up Veil? Because half the matchups that I don't like, I just set up Veil while they do whatever they want turn one, and I just beat them from there. And eventually, I slowly narrowed it down to like obviously you have to have Incin, you have to have Rilla to stop like terrain and shut down like physical sweepers. I mean, you have to have Incin, right? It had like a 70% usage rate or something like that.
yeah,
Day two.
day two was like, I think it was more. It was closer to like 80% usage, like 75-80% usage. It was absurd.
Yeah, it's like probably the best non-restricted mon in the format. I can't think of anybody who's like even equivalent. Maybe Urshifu, but like even combining both Urshifus, he's nowhere near.
Yeah, no, it was nowhere close. I mean,
It was like
Well,
what 36% combined or something like that for
uh,
Shifu.
might be a little bit more. So, day 2 we had 62 teams. There were 44 Incineroars, which is just like, I mean, that's ridiculous. Uh, 34 Rapid Strikes, and where is Single Strike? Where is Single
Probably
Strike?
it was 11% day 1. I think it was like at the end.
Did any Single Strike make day 2?
I think 1 made day 2, maybe 2.
I don't see it under 1. I don't see it under 2.
Really
There were no Urshifu Single Strike in day 2.
interesting
That's
because
that's
that's
bizarre.
crazy. That's crazy because it's so good. I mean, I say it's so good because I was running Urshifu Water with Scarf because that's like the only way to run it. I tried Mystic Water. I did not like it because it would just die to Psychic or whatever other big attack they clicked, and it didn't do enough damage for me. So eventually I just was like, I like Single Strike. Single Strike's been good to me. I ran AV Single Strike back in the day, courtesy of one of my friends' builds, with like Poison Jab. It was really, really good into
Oh
Fluttermane.
yeah, that was very clean build.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna run the Sash like max, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker, Terra Dark build because Cali Shadow can't beat that. A lot of the times they run a Psychic type stab, so it just walls it. And Wicked Blow can OHKO if they're not Sash. And I just sent in Rilla on the Switch. My team is designed to beat Shadow like hard. I have AV Rilla, Sash or Shifu, um, especially bulky Incineroar and Terra Normal Kali Ice. Terra Normal really really good for the Urshifu Water matchup because that's the biggest threat to my team. Um, but I Terra Normal and suddenly those intimidates actually matter because the best thing they can hit me with is close combat. So
Ah.
yeah, exactly. So like the biggest threat to me is fighting type. Koraidon's kind of scary. Um, but at the time I had Wisp. So I mean I just click Wisp into it if they either have to Terra Fire or do something else. And the second I get up Snow, I have the defense boost so I can live a collision course or a Flare Blitz. So I don't need to Terra. Um, and I mean it worked out really well. I mean I went 6-3. I played 5 Cali Shadows. And I beat all of them. The only 2 teams I lost to were actually mirrors, and those were there was like a standard Pelipper balance build that was going around, which was like Scarf, Urshifu Water, Pelipper, Golden Goat, Amoonguss, Cali Ice, and
I
So
think
I know a
I
little
think I
bit
had
about
6.
that build. I got that build got leaked to me like 2 days before the tournament. I didn't take it too seriously, but a friend, no, I wouldn't say I guess a friend. Like so, I play like with the Pakistan team for World Cup, and like one of the guys kind of popular on YouTube and stuff. And he was like, "Hey, like I got the secret sauce of what a lot of high level players are running," and like it was the exact Golden Go team, and I was like, "Golden Go in this regulation?" And they're like, "Trust me." Like, and I told him like, you know what? It's too late. Like I don't have time to practice. Like I'm like I have a bunch of plans. Like I practice enough. Like I'm gonna stick with the team I'm comfortable with. But thank you for letting me know. And they were turning out right. A lot of the people that ran it like have had a good moment with it.
yeah, I mean the 2 people I lost to, I think one went 7-2. I don't know how well they did day 2. And then the other one went 6-3. I mean, they weren't bad. I would have beat them though, is the thing. I would have beat one of them, like guaranteed. He crit me through Veil in a special attack drop with
Ooh.
Make It Rain, and I took like 40% from the first one. So, and I was Terra Normal, so like I was living it. I was +2 Glastrier. Like it doesn't matter. He was 60%. He dies to Glacial Lance, and I just win the game. He crits me through Veil, and I lose the set for it. Second one, the guy just got every turn right. Like he was a phenomenal player. I can't even be mad about it. He just like went into pro or top player mode and just beat me from there. But I mean, 6-3, by far my best finish. First time ever going positive, so feels good to have a team that did well. But I feel like Glastrier or Ice Rider are gonna be a lot more popular now because it just like swept through day 1, and I think 32% of them made it to day 2, or 32% usage rate day 2.
Something like that. Let's take a look. So Calyrex Ice, there were 68 of them, and 21 of them, so about a third, a little under a third made it through to day 2, which is a really good conversion rate with that many of them out there.
I think they were mostly that Pelipper team, from what I could gather. I think that Pelipper team was just very well built. The Golden Goat does really well into like standard other stuff. It does pretty good into Terapagos, which Terapagos for my team, another reason why I have single strike is that close combat just blows that thing up after fake out, and with fake out cycling you can just live it. But I mean, Miraidon won the whole thing, so I have a feeling Miraidon's going to show up a lot more, and I think you're going to have to prep for it.
Yeah, no, I guess before we get into, y'all's experience with Indy on kind of the more like fun vibes level, we could do the quick little breakdown of, dear Lord, this Miraidon team.
It's like perfection.
Yeah. We were just talking about this earlier today in the Discord about how, this is right. Rajan being able to win the whole thing is a testament to, especially against, the variety of different restricteds and archetypes and everything. Like, this team just played really consistently into everything, in part because it covers for almost anything you want to do. You want to play Trick Room, right? You can reverse the Trick Room on them. You want to play fast, Whimsicott can play faster. You want to have a slow, like, slug it out, like, damage trade-off, right? Blood Moon or Saluna, and then, of course, that Specs Miraidon. Did y'all stick around through the finals on Sunday? Were y'all there for that, or?
No, but I watched it live.
I left at like 10:30 with a friend who's going back because I just wanted to get home, and it was the best decision for me, to be honest. Getting home at like 1 o'clock and having the rest of my Sunday, phenomenal.
Yeah, especially living right a couple hours away, where it's like, all right, this is just quick little morning drive, right? Get home and be able to relax. I'm sure, especially after like the long day on Saturday, right? Much needed. But I mean, whether you watched it live or watched it later, that final set was
it was crazy.
It's absurd.
It was really, really good.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, we'll see a lot of this Specs Miraidon running around now. I saw on Twitter today already a couple of people put up their recreations of that team, and also Aaron Trailer's top 8 team too, right? Because they built together, and it's similar kind of idea, just with what are the differences? I think it was the Ditto versus the Ogre Pawn, and maybe a couple differences in the sets, but it's gonna be, as a stubborn Kyogre player, I'm terrified, but
I mean, so
lightning rod, baby, lightning rod,
dude,
everyone's cooking that up.
You know what's crazy? I got a little squirrel that might want to hop back in the metagame.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen. All I'm saying is the Pika clone that gets lightning rod with the blue tail. It's looking kind of tasty.
It gets Volt Absorb.
It gets Volt Absorb.
Even better.
It gets Volt Absorb, and then what is it? Pikachu gets lightning rod. Togedemaru gets lightning rod. Pretty much all the Pika clones have a good matchup into.
Apologies. What's the difference between lightning rod and Volt Absorb?
Lightning Rod is Storm Drain, where Volt Absorb is Water Absorb. So Lightning Rod is redirection and special attack boost, whereas Volt Absorb is simply immunity and healing. So, I mean, both solid. Against this Miraidon team, right? Lightning Rod's actually not as useful, simply because, right, if they lock into Discharge, your lightning rod's really not doing that much for you. You're getting the special attack boost, but your partner's still getting hit. So
Yeah. I mean, so my thing is, I feel like we might see a shift from discharge into parabolic charge because
mm,
I mean that was the one big thing I was noticing. It's like once it got hit by like one big hit, it kind of would just die to the next one. But I mean the absolute fear of okay, I've chipped it down to like 35% and it comes in and it just clicks parabolic charge and is back to like 50 is absolutely terrifying. I feel like we also might see a resurgence of Ting Lu. I think Ting Lu is going to be very, very good because the top 3 legendaries that were being used there were one was a physical attacker, but the other 2 were Terapagos and Shadow, which he loves both of those a
yeah.
lot.
In general, right now, Ting Lu is right now all the restricteds that are doing really well. It's really the special attackers, and I mean Calrex Ice as well. But with all the special attacking restricteds that are seeing these results, yeah, I could see Ting Lu definitely uh, you know gaining some relevance. It's gonna be interesting seeing how it's built though, because a lot of these teams they like to go fast and they like to hit hard, and Ting Lu is very much a slow the pace of the game down kind of Pokemon. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I feel like it might fit on Trick Room teams a little bit more. I feel like Cali Ice teams might just slot it on because they can. Like, to be honest, I'm thinking about slotting it on just because I can, because it's really, really, really good into the matchups I don't like. And even the ones it's not the best into, you just run like, I don't know, Terra Grass looks pretty good to me. Because you're not bringing it into mirror matches anyways. And its biggest threats, like, legendary wise, is probably Kyogre. Ogre and
yeah, Kyogre. Uh, maybe if you're forced to Terra, Terapagos is a little scary. Uh, Caridon is scary depending on your Terra type, right? Because if you're gonna go that Terra Grass route, Caridon still hits you. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, yeah, Tinglu doesn't have an awful matchup into the rest of the restricted. It's really just more of uh, can you build in such a way that Tinglu is enabling a core that can get the damage done back on the other side.
Yeah,
Um,
which is why I think it'll fit on the Trick Room Cali Ice teams. Because pair that up with like Pelipper with Terra Grass and like that doesn't matter as much at that point. Plus imagine like coaching or Shifu next to Tinglu and you start getting that ball rolling with like
ooh,
stomping and like snarl and stuff. Because my Howl team, I had Payback Tinglu, and that was doing about 50% to like
oh yeah, that
neutral
chunks
targets.
things. Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely a thought. Coaching next to Tinglu, if you could fit it. Um, I think earlier, while we were talking about Ting Lu, we were talking about Zamazenta Ting Lu because Ting Lu, right? We saw Koma O Ting Lu do pretty well. It had its moment in Reg F.
Yep.
Uh, and Zamazenta is almost in pretty much in almost every way strictly better Koma O.
Oh no,
Uh,
it is.
and yeah, like I mean the
Outside of Overcoat. Overcoat is better for the Amoonguss matchup, but like
outside of Overcoat and Overcoat and Bulletproof are both fantastic abilities for it, right? So,
yes, both are really, really good.
um, but like outside of that, right, Zamazenta is better pretty much every way, right? So, and Zamazenta does get coaching. It does get coaching. Does it get Howl? It might get also get Howl. So,
It's gotta get Howl, right? Like let me check.
yeah,
I have
let's
it open right now. It
is
does.
it does it does.
It
Oh
does.
baby. So yeah, yeah
Oh
that
my
could be
god.
the next team to kind of break out, maybe, right? Yeah,
I think coaching variant's gonna be more popular because the one like the second you have Ting Lu on the field, you're less scared of special attackers, especially the more prominent ones. And if you just click coaching, that Ensign's got to do a lot of work, and you have to always be scared that they just click body press. Like it's Ensign's not even a check, to be honest. They have to be like
Oh
Terra
no.
Ghost.
Yeah.
And Ting Lu loves Terra Ghost.
No, exactly. I think Ting Lu Zamazenta. Um, I'm trying to look through the list. I don't know if there were any Ting Lu in top 256.
I
Uh,
don't think so. I don't think people didn't even, I don't even think people really thought about it, which is the crazy part. I think
yeah,
it's a really good pick.
Ting Lu in general, outside of when were they first introduced? Reg C. Outside of Reg C, Ting Lu has been an afterthought at the start of every meta and then slowly crept back. Reg C, it just popped up because everyone was like, "Oh my god, I can click fissure 8 times."
Oh,
um.
it was that, and it like totally brought back the Pala balance. Like Pala
Oh.
balance was so broken with it.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. That metagame was really tough and in terms of, it was very centralized around this really strong core of what Palafin, Arcanine, Amoonguss, right? Tinglu enabled that big time.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, um, enough enough getting in the weeds because everyone and their mother has dissected these results to no end. Uh, as someone who has not yet been to a regional, uh, I kind of want to hear about. We obviously touched on, like, how you guys, decided to prep your teams, and it feels very similar to the way that I kind of end up picking teams anyways, where you got the two trains of thought of comfort versus the rigorous testing, right? Um, and I think that's something that's, there's always, you always got to go one way or the other with picking the team and prepping your matchups and knowing that well. Um, but on the more like personal kind of side of it, in terms of like the experience, right, of indie regionals, it wasn't the first regional for either of y'all, right? You guys have been to regionals. You guys kind of know what the experience is like. But for folks like me who don't really have that, who haven't gotten to experience that yet, um, what are the vibes? What's the atmosphere? Uh, how does it feel kind of like throughout the day? Because, 9 rounds is a very long day, right? You're starting pretty early with check-in, and you're kind of slugging through the day at a certain point, right? So,
I can take this one first.
yeah, go ahead.
So
Talk me through it.
yeah, so this is my second regional, right? So I think I have a little bit different experience. But I would say the first time you do it, you're going to be mentally exhausted by like round 5. The second time, I was pretty good. I think around round 7 to 8, I was starting to feel the attrition. But I was just learning to decompartmentalize. I think it helped because I played sports my whole life, and now I don't play sports really anymore. But I do run. I do like I do a lot of, like, 5Ks, 10Ks, things of that nature. But what I'm trying to say is that I did sports where you're kind of, doing sports all day long, and there's like periods of hours of wait, and you have to, like, whether it's soccer games, volleyball, or like a track meet, like, you do the stuff, and then you got to wait an hour and a half before you do the next stuff, and sometimes you can really feel it. That, like, of course you're physically exhausted, but you're also mentally exhausted, knowing, okay, I got to go, breathe, relax for a bit, because you can't be fully 24/7 on, because you're gonna get burnt out. But then you got to
Of
find a way
course.
to get back into it. So the first time I did regionals, it was a little tough because I wasn't used to it. Like after a couple of games of 4 or 5, I was like, okay, I'm really starting to burn out. Like I'm not having that much fun. And then I was able to kind of lock myself back in and be okay. This time around, I was pretty great. I mean, there was sometimes in between games I just learned to, like, either go by myself or put some headphones in or just take a breath or two for 5 minutes and then go be social with my friends that I made or that I knew that were there, or the new ones I made that day, and that really helped. So I definitely say the biggest tip I can give you is, like, one, if you played sports, like, lean on the fact that, like, how to, like, go through when you have like a tournament day of like 2 3 games in the same day for sports, but now think of it as 9 miniature rounds, but with Pokemon, right? Find a
Yeah.
way to relax and then get back into it. Don't relax too much where you're not going to be able to get back into your round. Don't get too hyped or you're going to get really burnt out by like 2/3 of the day. And so that's like the biggest tip I can give to anyone who's going to regionals. And the other thing I would say about regionals is it's very dependent on how your record is the first 2 3 games, is the quality of opponent. So as I was saying earlier in the chat, I am used to going 2 and 7 and then like 3 and 6 once in a while. And it go do you do by doing that, I usually lose a bunch of games at the beginning, and then I get put towards like with for lack of better words, the losers bracket of regionals, and then I get my wins by people who are around that kind of skill level or worse than me. This was the first time I went on a hot winning streak, and everyone I faced was very skilled. The ones I won against were very skilled. No one was making dumb mistakes. Like I just kind of played better, and the ones that beat me, I didn't really make dumb mistakes. They just played better. I was facing a whole new level of competition, and I was like, this is crazy. And so I would say is like the level of competition really is determined by your first 2 3 games, which can suck because you can get against really good people the first 2 3 games and get into a hole, and then you kind of get put into this other elo section, or you can do really well, but then you're kind of stuck with like really high performing players.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, right, to both of y'all's credit, right? Um, you guys, I think you pretty much had like the same record round by round until round 9, where you guys did go through the get to a really hot start. You both hit a little bit of a slump, but were able to recover too. And I think, right, speaking to uh, being able to compartmentalize each round and manage your manage your emotional level, manage your energy level throughout the day, right? I think like being able to like bounce back in later rounds and close out with a winning record, I think, right? Uh, that I mean I can only assume played a huge role in that. Um, yeah, Ivan, I guess same question to you. I know it might end up sounding kind of similar, but I guess more from your perspective, right? The experience of being at a regional and uh, the experience of like the level of competition and uh, how you feel throughout the day and managing nerves or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, so this regional compared to other ones, I was probably the most nervous. I haven't been this nervous to play Pokemon since I got Wolf Click round 1. Uh, that was like, I mean, that's like the most nerve-wracking thing you can have, right? And that kind of ties back into what Akbar was saying about your first couple rounds could determine your whole day. That's a pretty big thing to determine your whole day because
Yeah.
it's like soul crushing to get demolished that bad by a player of that caliber. Um, but I mean, this regional, I got like the exact opposite. I got a guy who was first regional. He had a mono steel type team, and I beat him with one Pokemon, with Urshifu's single strike. So I mean, I got off to a good start. I think I started up until ended the first half 4-1. So I was I definitely was in the like higher elo people, and then I did lose a little steam. I was playing the mirror matchups, and I lost off some. One of them he just was better. The other one was unfortunate stuff. And then I basically just got matchups I enjoyed. Was basically the big thing is I got a lot of matchups that I'm like, okay, I know your game plan. I know what you want to do. I know your threats that are standard on this team. I know how to circumvent those threats and play around them, and then get in my threat and play off that. Um, but regionals are entirely different than ladder and showdown play. Like the players there usually are way higher level than like their counterpart on like showdown. Like if you play like an 1100 player on showdown compared to like a first time regional player, the first time regional player is usually going to be way better than the 1100 player.
That's interesting and also slightly terrifying as someone who pretty quickly stabilizes into bubbling low ladder. I mean not 1100 but still not incredibly high ladder, but yeah, no, I think a follow-up that I kind of had off of uh especially saying how uh this past weekend you really enjoyed a lot of your matchups. I guess I'll throw this to you, Ivan, first, and I have a kind of similar follow up for Akbar too. Is how much of that? Because obviously, I mean, every team has its good matchups and its weak matchups, and you see strong regional runs where the player says, "Oh, it was kind of just luck of the draw," and you see good players really just bomb out because of luck of the draw, right? How much of it would you say was that, or how much of it would you say was more attributable to your prep? And is there anything that you did differently, or anything that either you did differently or anything that like you do normally with your prep for this past weekend that felt like it really bore fruit?
Um.
Ivan, would you mind if I go first? Because then I might have to hop off the call sooner than later, if that's
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah, go for
Sure.
it. Go for it.
For sure. Appreciate you, Ivan.
Of course.
So, uh, I would say it's honestly mostly skill based, but at the same time, I cannot pretend that like. So I went 5-4. Three of my losses were to the fucking ice horse, and uh, filter that if language is not involved.
No,
But
you're
like,
good. You're
I
good.
ran into Calyrex ice and 3 times, and all 3 times I lost. And it was just hard to get breakthrough. Like it was more bulkier than I thought. I should have probably expected a little bit more, but it survived a lot more than what I thought I was able to kind of get to it. It with Farigiraf, one of them was able to get Trick Room up, and there was all these kind of things. And like we were in a hyper offense team, Trick Room is like your Achilles heel, right? So there's these kind of things where that was kind of a lot of the thing. But the other thing is I did win against a lot of Miraidon. I won against Groudon. I won against Koraidon. So I did pretty well against a lot of matchups, and I think that was prep. And one of the things with prep is I took the time to, as I was talking in the first couple minutes of this call, is that I took the time to team build of thinking through of like what I wanted to do and how each Pokemon kind of worked on with each other. And like I also thought of, okay, if they're this kind of opening, if I see this 6 Pokemon, I'm bringing out these two. If I see them trying to do Trick Room, Fluttermane's going up, and so is Urshifu. We're not going to bring Calyx Shadow. What helped is I never brought Calyx Shadow the first ones. I always brought him off the bench, so the last two. It was funny to me is that a lot of the players that didn't do so hot brought the restricted out right away, and the players that did a lot better brought them out secondarily. Now, I understand Calyx Shadow, the key is to bring it out first, so maybe that team is a little bit piloted differently. But any team that's not running a Trick Room restricted, it's better off coming off the bench and analyzing it, waiting to use it to hit instead of bringing it out, making a misread, and then dying turn one. So those are some kind of themes I noticed, and the prep I did was a lot more. Usually, I don't do that much prep. Truth be told, I do like maybe an hour of team building, figuring out some stuff, then playing the hour of the that's DS. Man, I'm old. The Switch game, putting the EVs and stuff, and then maybe I'll do like 1 or 2 games over the Switch, and then I'm good to go. This time, I spent 2 weeks. I spent. This is the first time I was doing showdown for a decent portion because I always used to lose all the damn time on Showdown, and I was like, this is just humiliating. I don't want to. This isn't practice. I'm just getting my speed. But I got a lot of encouragement from all you guys, and so I did it. And then I started winning, and I'm still like 1100 elo, but like I feel comfortable where I like, sure, I might get 4 losses, then suddenly I'll get 3 wins because I think I go to the elo I'm probably around, and then to go back up, and it feels good. And I learn from these lessons, and I learn from the losses, especially that one Excel sheet that you gave us, and I put in my stuff, and I can look at, how's this team doing? Okay, with this matchup, I should probably put these two in. So I put a lot more prep into this one, and it showed because 2 wins more than my last regional might not seem that much, but it was a competition I was facing. The last time, I shot myself all the time. Yeah, there was people better than me, but I played so bad. This time around, I didn't play bad. Yeah, I made a mistake or two, but like that's Pokemon. You're always gonna make a mistake. Even the champions make a mistake. You ever hear a regional champion or a national champion or a world champion talk? They do make mistakes in a turn, but how they are is okay, they made a mistake turn two, turn three and four, how do they rectify it to go back to the advantage, right? You can never not make a mistake. That's part of being a Pokemon player. But I played very well, and so did my opponent. So I feel so much better by prepping this regionals.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting kind of hearing, right? You've been to 2 regionals, the one you didn't really prep for, right? Or in general, right? Like with locals having not really prepped for them, right? Not seeing the result versus uh, being more intentional and more being more intentional and more thorough with the prep, even though it was just 2 weeks of prep, right? The immediate difference you kind of saw in comfort with the team, your level of play, and the results to show for it, right? So that's really cool to hear for sure.
All right, boys, I'm gonna hop off. Thanks for having this call, and hey, thanks for having me.
No, no, for sure. Thanks for coming through, dude. I really appreciate it. This was like very last second notice, so appreciate you coming through. I'll flip the same question back to you, and then I guess we could kind of wrap at least the recording part. We might stay on this call for hours. Who knows? But yeah, same question to you in terms of uh. So I know for Akbar, right? It was very much the matches felt more. There was, of course, the matchups aspect of it where Caloric Shadow was an Achilles heel, but for the most part, right, it was very much kind of skill expression
Yeah.
in his results. You, on the other hand, said, yeah, a lot of my wins really felt like I just had the easier matchup, right? And of course, that is a level of skill expression in terms of team building. But would you say that was down to your prep? And like, was there anything in your prep that you felt was particularly fruitful for this weekend?
So I'm gonna say something a little crazy, and I've been told this by a lot of players that are a lot better than me, is your placement is solely determined off of what you have in that builder. The second you leave that builder, or like the second you enter that builder and you start building, that is where your matchups start to show. That is where your placement can start to show. So basically, yeah, like 90% of it is based off prep. Like the more prep you have, the better you feel into most matchups, the better you'll do. The less practice you have and the less you feel comfortable in the matchups, the worse you're going to do, because you're going to get those matchups you don't like playing into. You're going to get the matchups that your team's weak into. But the more things you have to deal with it and the better understanding you have to play around it, the better you'll do into the matchups. I like super hard prepped. I have multi-layer prep for Calyrex Shadow, and I played 5 of them. One of which I made a 3-1 guy look like he was first regional when it was like his 5th. I 4'd him and I 3'd him, I think. Like really, really, really dominant victories. And most of the victories into Cali Shadows, I like super dominated. So I do think it was off of good play, but I do also think that it was heavily dependent on my team prep for that matchup and just, that bearing fruit in bracket.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes a ton of sense. And I think that sentiment of right, your placement is set like, once you leave that builder, right? Um, it's not necessarily about like what goes down in that builder first, but it's really about like, as you prep, right, making those adjustments and knowing that like once you close out of that builder and like your team is locked, right? Like that's whatever you have there and however well you know it, that being, the indication of, how you're gonna do on the day or on the weekend. Um,
Exactly.
and I mean, I think right, we see that with Rajan and Trailer's team, right? Of that Specs Maridon, right? You can throw Specs Maridon in the builder, but until you know how it plays into every matchup and you know how to surround it with the pieces to cover every matchup, right?
Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't win
like
a
you saw
regional.
his build. You saw his build. Like he had the trick room mode. He had the encore like tailwind mode. Like if anyone could just slap a Specs Maridon in their builder and be like, "Yep, it's gonna do just as well." Even the same team, you could slap the same team in your builder, and you probably won't do as well as he did because that also is just like the player diff that comes with being a really really good experienced player and knowing how to pilot that stuff. But it also comes from just practice. The more you practice with a team like that, the better you'll do. That's why you'll also see some like top players. Most will switch up their team pretty heavily for the next event, especially if they do well, because they'll probably like leak it and be like, "Hey, this was my build," or somebody else will, and they don't want to like have to deal with that, and they like to move
Yeah.
on to a new team that they can kind of keep secret. But there were some players in Reg C that just ran I forget what his name is, but he ran like the same Pelipper Golden Go team throughout all of Reg C. And every regional he went to, he placed pretty high up, even though it's the same team. His team even was like dropped before NAIC, and he still did really well because he just had the reps with it. He was
Yeah.
so good with it and so used to every matchup that he could outplay everything.
Exactly, and right, like that's the value in that comfort pick, right? That value in, hey, I know my lines, I know my matchups, I know my calcs, right? Uh, and I trust in my ability to be able to adapt to what's in front of me, armed with all the knowledge that I have from behind me, right? Uh,
Exactly.
which, yeah, and I think that's in general, right? Like, I think a sentiment that kind of both of you shared that's both reassuring and daunting to hear is, hey, uh, it takes time to get good at this game, right? Like at the end of the day, like we all play through Pokemon games, and we're all like, oh, this is a kid's game, this is easy. But then you get to VGC or even right Smogon singles or whatever, even random battles, and it's like, oh no, this is chess. This is chess. We gotta put in the work.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is video game chess.
it
It's straight up.
Yeah, I mean that's how I explain it to people when I'm like, oh, I play Pokemon. It's really like it's board. It's chess. It's very much it's more of a board, like a cerebral board game than the fun monster collector. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. Uh, yeah. I guess the second part of that question, I think, kind of the last real question I have is there anything that you either did differently or that you usually do preparing for this past weekend that you thought was like particularly helpful?
So I don't like saying it, but this is the second regional out of my 5 that I've actually built the team and basically made it by myself. The 3 in between, because my first one was Fort Wayne, I had no clue what I was doing. I played competitive Pokemon for a month, and I built a team, and I went 3-6. So I didn't do that well. I put in the reps, but like I just wasn't a good battler yet. Fundamentally,
Yeah.
I didn't have the experience with Terra mechanics. And really, the big thing is I ran too many moves I could miss. That
Oh,
is a huge thing. If you look at pro teams, they do not like to run moves that can miss.
yeah. No, just like you can leave things to RNG to a certain degree, right? Like things like you'll run Heat Wave, you'll run Dark Pulse, and you'll live with the misses. You'll live with not getting a flinch in a specific position, right? But like RNG, like something that it took me a while to learn in this game is RNG is a skill. It
Yes,
it very much is. And specifically knowing how to manage luck, right? And knowing how to either manufacture it or mitigate it for your opponent, right? And you know, the best way to do that, right, is things that are 100% reliable.
exactly. I mean, I'm moving off Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp, I clicked it probably like 6 times. I didn't miss. You know, I'm thankful for that. I did not miss a single Will-O-Wisp this weekend. But a lot of the times, like, all you have to do is be like, okay, I have a physical threat in. I'm just gonna pivot out into like my Pelipper who's got wide guard, which happened 3 times. Where I just willowed in that slot. Where had I taunted, um, I would have been able to win the games with just Glacial Lance because no wide guard. So
Yeah.
it's very much, again, it ties back to that builder, right? Where it's like I brought a Flare Blitz like Will-O-Wisp instant, which would do really well into certain matchups, but taunt knockoff would have been way better because I just don't like Amoonguss with my team very much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. And I mean that's one of those things, right, where you know, again, right, this is 2 weeks of prep, and you didn't really settle on this team until like maybe like less than a week beforehand, right? And
oh
uh,
yeah,
right, so that comes with having the prep time and everything, and I mean also right, it's early beta. You really don't know what you're gonna come up against, right? This was the first official event of Reg G, so
yeah.
um, you don't know what you're coming up against. And you have an idea, right? But at the end
I
of the
mean, I
day,
I guess I had a pretty good idea because that's like all I played.
oh yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely very interesting seeing, because everyone was like, oh yeah, like Caloric Shadow is going to be the win button, and so a lot of people brought Caloric Shadow, but it didn't convert all that well because a lot of people prepared for Caloric Shadow as well,
Like
right?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, definitely a very interesting kind of early meta game where we thought it was going to be super centralized and super dominated by one restricted, and it turns out no, we've got a healthy variety here. There's a Kyogre in top 8. I feel hopeful.
It did pretty well too.
Yeah, Kyogre in general did all right. Yeah. I mean, right now, like the Kyogre team I'm running it's like pretty standard Kyogre balance stuff where it's like outside of adjusting for this Miraidon matchup, I feel like pretty good heading into I've got an MSS this weekend. And it's like, I feel pretty good about it actually.
Yeah, I mean, just take the arch off, put the Raging Bolt on, and boom, you're cooking.
Yeah,
You're set right there.
this so okay, where is this Kyogre team? This is here we go. Uh so this is like a very unique Kyogre team for sure. That Shiliang ran. Um
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of like the basic pieces are like very similar, right? You have Tailwind, you have priority blocking because Grassy Glide is really bad for you, right? You have Incineroar, just because it is the best utility piece in the game, and then from there, right, you've got other damage dealers. You've got in general, this team plays a little faster, like speed wise, uh, than my iteration. But I mean, mine is also more balanced, and I have a trick room mode to it, right? And it can go fast in the other direction. Um, but that's something I could yap on about forever. For now, I guess. Any last thoughts on the Indy experience? Any like fun favorite? What I guess yeah, this is a fun one to end on. Favorite moment from the weekend.
I mean, pretty easy one is my round one where I just 4-0'd a guy with single strike Urshifu. Like quite literally, I just beat him with single strike Urshifu. I just Terra Darked and clicked CC and Wicked Blow every other turn because he had no way to live it.
That is that is incredibly satisfying, and I feel like that's coming into a regional, right? Whether it's your first regional, your fifth regional, or your 50th regional, right? I think there's always that little bit of anticipation and sitting it out at the table and just immediately getting a result like that. I'm sure it just feels so nice. It's just yes, all right. That whatever butterflies were there are settled down. I'm playing Pokemon. I'm playing my game. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, and I mean the only other one that I think would tie with that would be the 5-3 matchup and sitting down and being like, okay, I just lost to two, or I just beat a Cali Shadow, and I've lost to two Cali Ice. If I get another Cali Ice mirror, I think I'll win it. But if I don't, I might lose. And sitting down and seeing that he had just like the most standard of standard Cali Shadow builds, I
That
like lit up. I was like, yes, I'm going 6-3.
yeah, and I think uh something that like in general I noticed like with your play and with your demeanor that like I really want to get to is that level of confidence. Like that's huge because I think like you do need a certain level of confidence to be able to sit down in front of basically whoever you're facing and be like, yeah, no, I'm the one winning this matchup, right? And I mean, it's a testament to the prep you've put in, and it's a testament to the mentality you've got. And yeah, I I told you and Akbar, coming into this call, like I'm just trying to get like you guys, like that's it. Um, next season, I'm going to a regional, and I want to be able to emulate that kind of result. So, getting this
It
insight from y'all super helpful for sure.
it's just put in the reps. Like even so at regionals, this was also the first regional I think I was able to start playing like how I play on Showdown. Because you talk about that air of confidence with me playing. At regionals, I do not play with the same level of confidence. I play with probably about half. I don't make reads. I just attack what's in front of me, and I lost a set because of that. Because I just attacked what was in front of me and didn't ever try to read into him doing anything. Um, But near the end, or like near the like middle slash end, I started playing with that level of confidence and started going for those reads. Because in regionals, it's like, and in Showdown, it's like I get the read, I win the set, I click copy and I paste in, like, look at how good I did here. But like in a regional, it's like if you mess up that read, you could lose the whole set for it. So there's a lot more stress on making that read. But the second you start getting comfortable making those reads and start like, getting into, okay, game one, my opponent swapped around a lot, so I can definitely try and get a prediction off that if I have this in. Also, note taking. I've just started doing it. This is my first regional ever note taking, and my placement shot up. So, I mean, the note taking is a little, it's a little bit much when you start doing it, because it's like, okay, how many notes should I be taking? Should I be documenting everything that happens, or like just a little bit? But all I did basically was, put down speed tierings, put down what they swapped out in front of, because that's a big one. Because if I get that lead again, I definitely can go for prediction into what they're going to switch out into. Terra types, like what they Terra, if they set up Trick Room, how many turns are left. Just like common stuff that you'd probably want to make mental notes of anyways, but having it on paper is a lot better.
Yeah.
And also, it's the ability to look at the sheet of paper and be like, okay, I can relive this set like right now because I looked at it and I have the notes, and it's like, what did I do wrong or what did I do right, and how would I replicate that or how would I change that is a big thing.
Yeah, and that's something I've noticed with my play too, where, I mean, from the first local I went to, I brought a notebook, but learning kind of how to take notes and learning like what notes are useful for me, because it's gonna be different for everyone, is huge. And then also, right, like you you talked about playing like you play on Showdown, and it's interesting because I mean this is something that like I do have to remind myself of too whenever I'm at an in-person tournament where the stakes either are different or they feel different, but at the end of the day, it's the same game, right? So,
It's just you're playing for like PC points rather than showdown points, like ladder points.
yeah. But like at the end, of the day, right? It is a different stake. It is if it's much higher stakes, and it feels like there's a lot more on the line. But that doesn't change the game that you're playing, right? And becoming comfortable and confident enough to play the game that you know how to play already, right? No matter the stakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, like that translates to the sports world. That translates to any competitive world, right? But like that's what separates, right, the really elite performers from everyone else who has the skill, but that's like the mental side of the game, which is cool to hear about. But yeah, no, super cool insights. Lots of notes for me to reflect on here. And time to turn this around in 5 days and pull out at an MSS on my end.
Oh, you got it for sure.
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel good about the team. I don't have enough best of 3 practice, but that's something I'll get in throughout the week. And at the end of the day, it's a fun game to play. I enjoy playing it. I get a lot of joy out of it. So the results are the results, and slowly getting better, which is all I can ask for.
Exactly. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and hey, with friends like you around, I know I'm gonna get better. So thanks so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
And yeah, that's it. That was the convo that we had. Thank you again to Ivan and Akbar for having that convo. Still here with Gigi. He is cleaning his shoulder. He was cleaning his paw a second ago. He's a little bit more safe for work. But yeah, that was it. That was the combo. Thank you to Ivan Akbar again for having it and letting me record, and it was a fun time. I hope that I know I got a lot out of that combo, and I know I have a lot of notes in terms of how I'm gonna improve my preparation for tournaments moving forward. I hope it was useful for you guys. I hope it was useful for them. And yeah, as always, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, because it lets me know that you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping. Gigi, you want to say bye? Gigi does not care. He could not care less about you guys. I'm sorry. My apologies. He's a cat. But yeah, thanks as always for watching. And until next time, folks, take care.